Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We're very glad to have all of you here. Thank you for spending part of your valuable time with us. It's truly appreciated. And special welcome to some elected officials who have joined us today, including Paradise Valley Mayor Mark Stanton. I know you are here. And Paradise Valley Council Member Julie Pace. Scottsdale City Council members Jan DeBacchus and Solange Whitehead and Mary Ann McAllen. So thank you guys for taking time here. And I have to take this opportunity. The bulk trash program is my favorite program in the city of Scottsdale. Make sure it keeps going. Pay those guys extra, please, because they're phenomenal. So anyway, I digress. We appreciate your leadership, and we appreciate what you do and your interest here as well. So it means a lot to us. My name is George Wise, and I'm very proud to serve as chair of the board of directors of Scottsdale Community Bank. And on behalf of our board of directors, our president, Neil LaCorn, who's in the back there, and our outstanding staff, who we really appreciate, we want to welcome you to a session of what we call the Vault. And it's an opportunity really to get up close and personal with a real, true leader in our community. And in my view, there's none better than Bob Parsons. You are in for a real treat. We are all going to really see something, experience something that we will enjoy. We'll be having a conversation with an amazing individual, someone who I consider a true Arizona treasure, and someone who earns the respect of everyone that he meets. And we're honored to meet here in one of his cherished businesses. When people talk about Bob Parsons making moves that cause the ground to shake, well, that happens literally here at this Harley-Davidson establishment, which is the largest, and Joe, tell me if this is right, the largest Harley-Davidson dealership in the world, from what I understand. So coming here is an experience way beyond motorcycles, which you'll hear about in a second. And we're very grateful to Bob and his staff for hosting us here today, especially this dealership's very hardworking, dedicated general manager, Joe Byron, who I bet was pretty busy because we just had Arizona Bike Week a couple of weeks ago. So please welcome Joe Byron.
All right, thank you, George. Appreciate that. Yes, Arizona Bike Week was a couple weeks ago, and we're still kind of recovering from that, but it was a good time. A lot of people came. If you happened to drive by, you saw how crazy it was. But yes, welcome to the world's largest dealership. We're 155,000 square feet under one roof. So we have plenty of room for activities, as you probably see as you walk in and see all the amenities that we have. But we have 7 dealerships in total, 1 Harley-Davidson dealership, and the other are our metric stores. We house all of our team here for our accountants and everything are out of this building. And we have our CEO, Gina Mara. She is housed here as well. And then, I'm the GM, and of course my team below us. But we have something very special here besides everything that you see. We have a staff that's most of them have been with us 8+ years. Starting with Gina, she's been here with Bob for 18 years. I personally have been here for 9 years. I have plenty of my staff down there that's been 10+ years. So we really believe in creating a good organization that people want to stick around and stay with us, and you can see that. And that helps too when it comes to customer service, because we have that team that's been here, buys into what we're trying to do. But it's easy when you walk in and you see, you see the 5 military bikes for the branches of each branch. And then obviously you walk in, you have that coffee shop to your right, and then up here, when you guys came up here, you saw an arcade. We have the wedding chapel, of course, and then we have that tattoo parlor. And as you make your way through the dealership, we have other amenities that were really customer forward thinking when the dealership was built. We have what we call our rumble zone, which essentially is a big exhaust fan in the ceilings, so we can start up exhaust for customers, let them listen to it so they know what they're listening to before they buy it. And then right behind that is our audio room, which we house the Rockford Fosgate. The bike has all the speakers on it, so customers can listen to what that sounds like before they purchase for their bike. And then if you make it a little bit further down, we have our service department. We have 4 quadrants, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, and each one of those has 4 bays, and each bay has 2 lifts. So we have a total of 32 lifts in there to house all our service work. But the unique thing about it is it's a completely enclosed in glass. So as you walk up, all you see is glass windows. You can look and see what's going on with your motorcycle. And then on either side are 2 large American flags, and they're the size of the whole entire windows. They cover the full length. It's probably the largest flag that you'll probably have seen. So it's nice because customers can come in, see what we're doing. Everything is very much military-esque when you walk in. Obviously, the names of the quadrants in the service, plus we have the seals for the military in there too. So this is a very unique building. And then if you go down to the basement, we have a 50-seat movie theater. So these are all things that make us unique. Obviously, you don't see this in a lot of dealerships. A lot of dealerships, if you guys have ever visited any, they all have their uniqueness about them. But I think by far this place is the most unique. And what Bob Parsons put into this to create this, obviously, what we have here is awesome. And each one of us that come in every day really enjoy coming in because we get to be at one of the most beautiful dealerships and, of course, the largest, too. So welcome you guys all to it. If you guys, after this is over, want to roam around, if you see me, I'd love to give you a tour because it is quite the place to take in. So other than that, yeah, you got it. Thank you, guys.
There's lots of good clothing for sale downstairs. Cash and credit cards are accepted. And if you want to buy one of those bikes, we do know a bank that gives a loan. So we just want to make sure we're ready for you all and everything. We have several new folks here today who are joining us. And I just want to briefly mention our bank because it's something that a lot of people in this room are very proud. Some of our shareholders are here, our clients are here, our staff is here. So we just want to tell you a little bit about it. But basically, and very succinctly, Scottsdale Community Bank is the best local bank in the best city in America. And we are, oh, thank you, Gary. We are changing the face of business banking in Arizona. It's a bank that has become the go-to bank for small businesses, family businesses, and nonprofits. It's a bank that is locally owned and locally managed. It's a bank that 2 years in a row is one of the fastest growing banks in not just Arizona, but the Southwest. The national median growth rate for banks this past year was approximately 5%. Your Scottsdale Community Bank rose 42%. So, in fact, just yesterday, we had our annual shareholders meeting where we announced that we'll be issuing additional stock to enhance that amazing growth and give others the opportunity to join us. So if that interests you in any way, just let us know. It's really an amazing place, but most importantly, it's a bank that takes in money and then returns that money and funnels it locally into our community. So that's really what we're about. That's what's important. And we've become really a fabric of Scottsdale. So we don't just promote our bank, we actually promote the special place that we call home. We want to show you a very quick 90-second video that sums it up very well. There's a screen over to your left. Some of you may need to turn around a little bit, and we'll go ahead and show.
There are over 19,000 cities and towns across America. But there's only one Scottsdale, Arizona. A city where bold ideas are born and dreams are made real every day. Now, this extraordinary city, with all of its arts, culture, and history, finally has a bank that lives up to its name.
It's not an exaggeration to say that Scottsdale Community Bank has changed the face of business banking in Arizona.
You know, their values match up with mine. The reliability, I mean, I'll email something in the evening and the next morning she has a response for me of what's the best way to do something.
Community for me is when people work together for the greater good. Every time I called the bank, I got a human being answering the phone, and that just does not happen anymore.
You call the bank, you talk to a person.
The best banking is about people. and building something that lasts. Scottsdale was forged in the hearts of the desert, a place of imagination and ambition. Now, it's our turn to help you build, to help you grow, to power this miracle in the desert forward. We hope the best local bank in the best city in America becomes yours too. Welcome to Scottsdale Community Bank.
Cool, thank you. That's pretty cool. We really enjoy that, and we were ranked one of the 3 finalists by the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce for best small business in the Phoenix area. So we're very proud of that. The video was actually put together by some folks helping us today: Reese O'Connor, who's in the back, along with Jason Rose and Jennifer Park Sturgeon of Rose Allen Public Relations. Julie Stoney, who's helped us so well from our office. We appreciate it. And also helped today, special thanks to Amanda Smith at Yam Holdings for her excellent team for setting up today's special event. Bob Parsons. Well, most of you know about his incredible business exploits, which we will certainly discuss in a few minutes. But for me, it's not just what he's done, but who he is. What stirs his mind and what touches his heart. He's a man of tremendous passion in everything he does. Passion for his businesses, passion for his friendships, passion for his family, passion for life, and passion just to have fun. So I feel very fortunate to be introducing someone who has been an inspiration in my life, as he has been for so many people here in Arizona and around the country. His amazing tenacity, work ethic, creativity, instincts, and vision have guided him in both business and his personal achievements, overcoming many challenges along the way. Growing up in Baltimore, he learned early in life to survive and eventually to thrive. His journey included enlisting in the Marines at age 17 and serving in Vietnam, where an explosive device ripped through his arm and shot shrapnel into both of his legs, with some metal fragments still lodged there today. He's a recipient of the Purple Heart, the Combat Action Ribbon, and the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry. But the stamina and determination he showed during that tour of duty in Vietnam has been with him throughout his life. As one of his cherished Marine buddies once said, Bob's story is an inspiration about perseverance, resilience, meaning, and hope. And one of his close friends, Danica Patrick, summed it up so well by saying, Bob is one of the most interesting, bold, honest, and kind human beings I have ever met. So please join me in welcoming and thanking an honored veteran who has served our country, our state, and our community, Bob Parsons. It's a great testament to you, people that want to be here. Amazing talent and attraction you generate just because of who you are. Not just what you've done, but who you are. And it's a testament to you. So we're sitting in the epicenter of what you produce, which is really an economic engine for the entire state of Arizona. Many know that besides the dealership, which I mentioned to you, my sister bought 3 motorcycles. You are the founder of GoDaddy with its amazing technology and controversial, somewhat controversial Super Bowl ads. The founder of PXG Golf, which has the best premier golf equipment in the world, period. With PXG standing for Parsons Extreme Golf, in case you're not aware. And across the street from the Yam Worldwide Building is a film studio, a commercial real estate, investment and management office, a marketing firm. And nearby is your furniture foundry and another motorcycle dealership we own, GoAZ, just across the street, plus Scottsdale National Golf Club, and the very charitable Bob and Renee Parsons Foundation, with which you and your amazing wife Renee generously help our community. However, on this stage today, I noticed that there are 2 very meaningful flags. The United States flag and the Marine flag. You've often mentioned that everything you've ever accomplished, you owe to the Marine Corps. Can you explain that tell us more about why you enlisted at the age of 17 and how those experiences started you living.
Well, I grew up in East Baltimore, and East Baltimore is lower end of low blue collar, and mostly steel workers, and that's that sort of thing, working Armco Steel, Buffalo Steel, and that sort of thing, and well, both my parents were gamblers. Neither one is very good at it. And so as a result, we had very little. And my parents, I wouldn't trade them for anybody in the world, or, they've since moved on. But I just loved them to death. But, I pretty much did what I wanted to do. And in school, I wasn't very good. I was a hellacious student, and every year, whether I passed or not, was a photo finish. And in the 5th grade, I failed. And and that was that way until my senior year. And my senior year, I was doing particularly worse. That was in 1968. Okay. And I had discovered alcohol in the opposite sex.
At the same time.
Neither one has ever put anybody on the dean's list. And I was failing most subjects. I thought I was not going to graduate. And I had some two buddies of mine. They told me they were in gym class, and I think it was in March. They said they were going to go join the Marine Corps. Going to go talk to the recruiter. And so I said I'd go. Want to go with them? And I said sure I would. And this was during the height of the Vietnam War, right after the Tet, and all that hell that was being raised over there. And so we went into the Marine Corps recruiter's office, and we all enlisted. And after the recruiter told me, he said, we're going to check your grades and so forth. We're very particular about who we let in. Now, they were letting guys in that were having deals, go to jail or join the Marine Corps. So, it was kind of easy to get in the Marine Corps back then. And when I went in, I remember I was a little nervous. I took my screening tests, and and then he was going to tell me if I was going to get in or not. And he said to me, I still remember, he said, "Robert, we think you'll make a fine Marine." And so I joined the Marine Corps, showed all my teachers my orders. My mother had to sign for me to get in. She didn't want to. And eventually she said, well, you know what? Maybe this will be what you need to turn your life around. And so I got my orders. I showed all my teachers. They all passed me. A few of them cried. They said, you know what you're doing. And I said, sure I do. Yeah, right. I will tell you that, I went in, I went to basic training that the following March. That following August rather, and when we come out of basic training, my one buddy never made it. He was stabbed to death home on boat leave, and my other buddy, his name is Charlie, and him and I both went to different rifle companies over in Vietnam. We went through infantry training, and then advanced infantry training, and then Vietnam. And so Charlie was with the Gulf Company, 1st Marine Division, 1st Marine Battalion, and I went to 1st Battalion Delta Company, 26 Marines. And when I got through with that, I was in combat most nights. I lasted in combat a month. When I first got to my unit, I found out that I was a replacement for me and a couple other guys were replacements for 5 casualties that my squad just had, and four of them were fatal. One was severely wounded, and to a man, it was all the senior guys. And so the new guy, who was a new squad leader, he had only been in the bush for 6 weeks, and he was a senior man. He was calling the shots. He turned out to be excellent. And that night, I see my first combat. Seen one of our guys hurt horrifically, and that's the way it went. It went when I seen that first combat. I hadn't been with the unit 5 hours. Yeah, and so that night, a guy named Ermo Hunt was hurt, and he was hurt horrifically. The North Vietnamese soldier threw a hand grenade. It landed down by his legs. He went to pick it up, and it went off right here. Went to throw it back, and so you can just imagine what that was like. So I saved the guy's life that night. I got my first kill that night, and my kill happened to be a snake.
I read about that.
Yeah, but I did kill a snake, and you know, I remember we were sweeping some rice paddies looking for dead bodies of North Vietnamese, and we found none. But what I did, we were strung out, you know, across the rice paddies. They had illumination up, you know, coming down on parachutes, and we are looking down, and there's this big red snake. I mean, and it's swimming. It looks like he's swimming right to my. It looked like he was going to bite me in the nuts.
That'd be a concern.
And when he got within about, I'd say 5 feet from me, I'd put my rifle on automatic and said, snake heaven, and nasty ass rice paddies we were walking through. The water came up and I looked out of my eyes. And then when I cleared my eyes, nobody was around. Everybody was underwater. You know, they didn't think it was a snake. And so anyhow, later, my squad leader, who was a kind guy, dear friend of mine to this day, he said, next time, don't shoot the snake. And there you go. So that was my first night.
Instead, get something else to get bugs, right?
Yeah, and then next night, one of our guys got hurt. I had to help carry him about a mile to Medevac Point. Then the next night, we killed 2 North Vietnamese, and on and on and on. And I lasted a month. And we were walking through a village at night, and I hit a tripwire, and the tripwire was attached to a hand grenade, and boom! I mean, I was wounded. You know, that night we killed those 2 NVA. It was my 3rd night. That was the first time I seen a dead enemy soldier, and God, I remember they were just they were young guys, you know, and they all had ropes around their neck, and what I found later is that they all had ropes around their neck, so when they would get wounded or killed, they would grab the ones that were still alive, if any were, they would grab the rope and drag them away. And a lot of times we have to make contact, we'd see drag marks and that sort of thing. So then I went to Japan, and then it took me a couple of months or so, and I never went back. I didn't go back to combat, but I was made a courier, and I flew back and forth to Vietnam. I was see rocket attacks, that sort of thing. If you ever want to see how fast you can run, be someplace where there's an enemy rocket attack coming in, and you got those sirens. You know, I know I broke a couple land speed records. And then eventually I rotated home. And when I got home, different place. and I was a different guy. And everything I've ever accomplished since, I owe to the Marine Corps.
Amazing experiences. And, you know, you wrote an incredibly engaging book, which became New York Times bestseller, and I think recently just sold over 100,000 copies. And it's titled Fire in the Hole, right here. We are very glad to inform all of you that the bank has secured a copy for each of you, so you'll each get one on the way out after the program. But it's clear, Bob, that you put in so much emotion into this book, combined with, like we said, your liking his experiences, telling a story, but also what you learned from each story. And it's clear that you also had a risk opening up your vulnerabilities to write this book. To really talk what you went through, both in pain and in joy. But as the book denotes, you are rarely hesitant to take risks. I mean, that's pretty clear. But tell us about the term fire in the hole. How does that apply to your story, both in the military and what you call basically your traumatic life and explosive success?
Well, fire in the hole, the term comes from early, as way back when the military started using cannons, and they would have a fuse that would burn down and would light a pack of powder, and the powder would explode and it would send it through whatever projectile that was they were using towards whoever they were having a disagreement with. And whenever they would light it, they would say, "Fire in the hole," and that's where it started. And my ancestors, a couple generations back, all worked up in Pennsylvania, and they were deep coal miners, at least on my father's side. And they would, when they would explode some of the sheets of coal, they would use that term also, fire in the hole. You know, when I was a kid, I used to play with toy soldiers a lot. That's where that term I use a lot, called kaboom. Use that. And in Vietnam, whenever we would come across an enemy tunnel, you know, you've seen these, where they say these movies where these guys would be tunnel rats, and they would send them down into tunnels. What they didn't tell you is that nobody went down into those tunnels just after you found them, because if somebody's waiting for you with a rifle or explosives, there's just no way you're going to live through that. It's just not possible. So what we would do, we would take C4 plastic explosives, a good big hunk of that, and we put it on a C4 detonator, and would throw it as far as we could down into the tunnel. And when we did, it would be fire in the hole, then we click, 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 boom. And then you could see an outline where the tunnel was. And anything that was down in that tunnel, of course, we drug them out dead. And if any explosives, they would explode. And then it was pretty safe to go down in them. At least much safer than it would have been if we hadn't done that. I never went down in them once, but I sure was standing around when it exploded many a tunnel.
So following your very honored military career, you put yourself through college on the GI Bill, received your CPA, which I don't know if people realize. You graduated magna cum laude from the University of Baltimore. Then you started a business in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So what brought you to Cedar Rapids, Iowa? I mean, I had a son-in-law who's a CPA in Davenport.
Yeah.
He went there to go to college, but what brought you then back to the East Coast to start a business in Cedar Rapids? And then what actually brought you to Arizona for that?
Well, when I was in Baltimore, when I came back, you know, we came back from the war, was the hardest thing. You know, you could talk to the guys that I served with that are still living, and most of them would tell you they'd go back and do it again, but coming home was the hard part. And we weren't welcomed home. Instead, we were met by anti-war protesters who threw shit at us and spit at us. Just wasn't good. And if you missed all that, you seen it on TV again and again and again and again, and you didn't even tell people you were there because it was. You know, for some reason or another, the country just, a lot of the country held the soldiers and the military responsible for it, and it wasn't, we just did our job. Thankfully for all the stuff that we've done, you know, our military will never face that again. And the Vietnam vets, the thing that we had, well, we are to this day the only troops who have ever fought for this country that were never welcomed home. We had each other, and we're probably tighter than just anybody that's ever served in any military. So I guys I served with they're still alive. There's 5 of them. I talk to them every month or two, and and that's still to this day, and it's been quite a while. And all of us came home with something called PTSD. We're very different people, the thing that I had going for me is most everybody that has PTSD. You see, because none of us were treated for any of that. Most of us, as soon as we got our papers to leave Okinawa or Vietnam, we'd go through those ports and then we'd go to California and then right home. No treatment whatsoever. You know, we were, you know, with me, I was a different person. I was pretty happy-go-lucky when I joined, but when I came back, I sure wasn't. I had a flash temper and socially isolated. Now, anybody that has PTSD treats it in one way or another. You know, some treat it with alcohol, some treat it with gambling, some treat it with drugs, some treat it with exercise, some treat it with me. I treated mine with, I buried myself in my work. And it made a huge difference in school, whereas I was a terrible student. I graduated magna cum laude from the University of Baltimore, and took the CPA exam and passed it because just studied a lot for that. Passed it the first time, and so there you go.
So why not, all of a sudden now you did this, you've accomplished things, you're trying something different, totally different for you. Why Iowa and then why Arizona?
Well, Iowa, I was working as an accountant, and I had a buddy of mine who worked with me, and he left and he took a job at a place in Missouri. And so he contacted me and said, you know, this company, they need a controller. And I'd be interested, you know, this place where I lived, where, you know, was all I'd known, so I was still living in the same neighborhood where I grew up at. I remember across the street from me, a guy was beat to death. They found him and his teeth in different parts of the house. A guy up the corner was stabbed to death with a pool stick. And then after a while, you get to think, and I probably don't want to raise my family here. So he lived in a small town called Moberly, Missouri. And they offered me this job, and I went out to see him, and it was like, it reminded me of Mayberry RFD. So I moved there. And I was there for 5 years or so. And then I had another company that offered me a job in Missouri, in Iowa, Cedar Rapids. They wanted me to start a leasing company for them. And I had started a leasing company, and me and another guy in Missouri. We did it for people that had big dealerships and so forth. And we went and just, they paid us a lot more to go to work for them. And back then, and even today, I can be bought.
I will remember that, by the way. So then Arizona, all of a sudden, so you're in Iowa.
Okay, so here's what happened. I was married. I was married when I lived in Cedar Rapids, and I started this business in my basement called I called it Parsons Technology, and I had bought a book at the Stanford campus one time, and I like bookstores and that sort of thing. So I was on an accounting job out there, and I had 12 hours to kill until I caught my flight back to Baltimore, and I went to the Stanford campus and I bought a book on how to program in a basic computer language. I had no training in it at all. And I read the salient parts of that book on while I was waiting for the plane and on the flight home, wrote my first couple programs. And when Apple came out, the first Apple, I bought one. And then when the first IBM came out, I bought one. And I started, I got really good at writing code. And because it was something you could do that you could do not around people. And that was my calling card, not around people. And so I wrote a program on home money management. And it got to be pretty good. It took me about 3 years to get it good, but it did. And then I started this business called Parsons Technology. And then I did a bunch of other software programs. And to make this company work, I realized one year I needed a tax program to do. A 1040 would go with the money management program. So that year I took and in order to get this done, I would have to quit my real job. So I quit my real job. I left a $50,000 bonus on the table for leaving, and that was they offered me a lot of money to stay, but that meant nothing to me. So I went ahead and I took this challenge, and I started in October, and I worked 60-hour shifts. I'd go to work Monday morning, work all the way through till Tuesday morning, work straight through till Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday at about 8 o'clock at night, it'd be 60 hours straight. I would know that I couldn't work anymore and get much done, and the way I knew that was I'd start to hallucinate. Yeah, I would see stuff that wasn't there. I mean, stuff move. And I knew dust didn't move, right? And or hear things that made by people that weren't there. So I'd go home and I'd go to sleep, and I slept for about 8 hours. And then I'd go maybe take a quick run around the high school track, take a shower, work 60 more hours, and I did this until that April. And then I got my tax software done, That year, I made $280,000. I never made that kind of money in my life. And that's what I did. So the following year, I made $2.5 million. The following year, I made $5 million.
That's from not sleeping.
Yeah. And I tell you, I went on a few nice vacations. Yeah.
Very impressive.
And so that's what I did. And so anyhow, so the software, the company, I had a total of, for me, invested of $40,000 in this company, and into it offered me $60 million. I told them I was insulted, so I finally sold it for $64 million. And after that, my wife didn't want to be married anymore. She'd had enough of me. She was a wonderful woman, but I wasn't a great guy to be married to, and I just wasn't around. And so she wanted a divorce. She got a divorce. I gave her a divorce. I didn't give her a divorce. She took a divorce. So, I got my walking papers, and she got a little more than I got, but she deserved it. She stuck by me all the way, and I moved to Arizona. And I moved to Arizona so I could play golf. And my buddies told me I had a non-compete that I had to honor for a couple of years. And everybody said to me, if you do nothing but play golf for a couple of years, you're going to get really good. That's bullshit. So anyhow, eventually, there's a way that you can tell when a guy really gets old, right?
Yeah.
And see, I learned that because I started playing golf with these guys who were older. It was every guys that didn't work, right? When a man gets a certain age, he starts dressing like a flag from another country. So eventually, I decided to go back to work again. I couldn't hanging around with Czechoslovakia and Brazil. I needed to be busy and be on the line.
Well, you became passionate about golf. I mean, you just didn't play it, which of course led to develop PXG, finest golf equipment, period. But I just want to mention golf's in our bank's DNA. I just want you to know that. Our bank has a couple of ringers that if you ever need anything for a tournament, our president, Neil LaCorn, came over from Great Britain as a college student on a college golf scholarship. And we also have our senior vice president of lending, who is here, Alan McDougall, who is the ESPN long drive champion.
Whoa. Yeah.
So if you want some ringers, we've got some people who'd be glad to play.
Oh, I've been playing ringers. Yeah, there you go.
When you started in Arizona, so you had a company you called Jomax Technologies, just because you liked the name of the dirt road.
Right.
At that point was a dirt road.
Yeah.
Was Jomax. And then you went to GoDaddy.
Yeah, I started GoDaddy from scratch.
Yeah.
When I started GoDaddy, I wasn't even a pencil. It was just like Parsons Technology. I just started it. And at that time, I had, I think I had like $38 million. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that the internet was going to be something. And so what we did was, when I say we, I mean me. I started, hiring smart people, and the idea was that I would do a number of things that I thought needed to be done. on the internet. And then, you know, I would do, if something worked, I'd keep doing it. And if it didn't work, I'd stop doing it. And, you know, I didn't know it had a name. It did. It's called a search fund. The people that worked with me then, they said, hey, we would go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and they'd give them, you know, people a card that says Joe Max Technologies. People say, well, what are you doing? They say, well, we don't know. I said, all the people I've ever met, you're from the only business that doesn't know what they do. But it was true, we didn't know. So and eventually we found that of everything we tried, and I mean, we tried internets, extranets, we tried teaching education, we tried selling other people's software, and nothing worked. The only thing that worked was we could build a website for somebody, and we'd make a few bucks doing it. And not enough to, you know, fund the company, but it was the only thing that would, you know, had some, you know, attraction. And then what we found was, sooner or later, we decided that we would write software where people would build their own website. And that software, we called it the Website Tonight, Website Complete. I don't know what the hell they call it now, but they still do it. And the one thing that we needed in order for a website is a website just like your house needs an address, so people can find it. And that's what domain names are. They're website addresses. And so I went to all the different companies, they're called registrars, that, you know, where you can purchase a domain name. And, you know, and it's like buying it's like buying a vanity license plate from the DMV. If it's available, you can buy it, and as long as you keep paying for it, right, you can have it. The moment you stop, somebody else can buy it, right? Domains work the same way, all right? So that's what we did. And now the problem we had was that with the internet back then was the .com boom, and the .com boom was so loud, and there was so much stupid money, and I mean stupid money, I mean really dumb money. I mean, people all invested, rushing to invest in it. There you go. But you look like a smart man. You've learned, right? Okay, sure you have. Yeah, you know, they learned so much that, well, they shame on you. Anyhow, we went ahead and let me get this straight. Went ahead and tried selling domain names, sold none. Sold very little, and the reason was we couldn't buy advertising, and the people that we could buy advertising from wouldn't sell it to us. They would only say, okay, we will sell you advertising based on you pay us for every customer you get, and you know you have to pay us maybe $1,000 a customer, when the customer would be worth like $12. And so we didn't do that. And so what happened was, you know, I'm not a Harvard business guy. You know, I'm just from East Baltimore, but I know what makes a business go. So I would say, you know, I'm going to run my business until run this business until it gets to be. I get down to 36 million. I get to 36 million. I'm going to worry about it till I won't worry about it till we get down to 30 million. And this went on and on and on and on. I changed the company's name then because Joe Max was pretty familiar. me and another person that I worked with took a couple days and we renamed the company. We came up with the name GoDaddy and just pulled it out of the sky. And I remember the next day telling the people that had worked for me that I was going to call the company GoDaddy.com, and they all said, that is a terrible name. But the name stuck, and I never changed it. So then we got down to 30 million, then 25 million, then 20 million, got all the way down to $6 million, or in around 2000 or 2001. And at that time, I said we were getting no traction. Business was raging, and I mean, the dot-com boom was raging. And I decided that I'd shut it down while I still had some money. I just needed a mental break. And so I went to Hawaii. One of these things that I've always believed in, I read a lot of history books, and one of my favorite characters in history, General Grant. He won the Civil War for the North. And he always said, he always kept his own counsel. And he said it was smart to keep your own counsel because when, you don't tell anybody what you're going to do, you can change what you're going to do when you're not held to it and that sort of thing. And I did. So I never told anybody I was going to shut the company down. I went to Hawaii. And while I was in Hawaii, as time went on, I really didn't want to shut the company down. And one day this guy was parking cars. And he's throwing the keys up in the air. And he's going, hey, Mr. Parsons, here's your keys to your car, and this and that. And I was thinking, this guy's just parking cars. He probably doesn't have anything. He might be the richest man in the world, but I don't think he was. And but me, I got $6 million and I'm miserable. What the fuck is wrong with this man? Right? So I went back and didn't do a thing different. Decided that I would not shut the company down. And if it went broke, I'd go broke with it. And actually, I decided I could park cars. What I really decided I'd do is I'd get a job up in Vegas working the craps table. I like watching that. You should always do what you like, right? Yeah, and so anyhow, that's what I decided I'd do. But what happened is as time went on, things started to gel, and then GoDaddy was born. And the thing that happened that caused GoDaddy to be born, it was the dot-com bust. And when the dot-com bust happened, I mean, there would be companies we'd do business with every week would go out of business. And I mean, we would get checks, my checks back in the mail that it says can't deliver it, so forth. So, it wasn't real bad news. So, that happened. And then I had, all of a sudden, the people that wouldn't sell me advertising, right? They were standing in line to give me advertising. And there's an old Chinese saying which I love, and that is success is often found right on the brink of failure, just when you're about to fail. And I know that's true. And then we turned the corner that following October, and we became cash flow positive. And when I sold the company in 2011, when I sold it in 2011, I had a 70% share of domain names. We were the cheapest. We had the best service. See, something I discovered, and the thing I discovered is that people use the internet to to buy stuff or to socialize or to have fun. But when it comes to solving problems, I like to talk to other people. So I hired the best people I could find that would give the best service in the industry. And that's how it happened.
Many amazing lessons to learn for all of us, no matter what your business is. But let me touch on things, kind of one last thing that I know is very important to you. Kind of a two-part question. You, as part of your healing therapy for PTSD, were involved with psychedelic-related therapy. And I know that's been important to you to get research, etc. So I want to give you, if you'd like to say a few things about that, maybe where you think we're going with information on it. But also, people would like to know what's next about Parsons. I mean, your cup runneth over. But I know you always have things you're interested in and want to do. And you and your wife do so many wonderful things in the community, helping organizations that don't get help from anyone else. It's pretty amazing what you do. But, so touch a little bit on
Well,
what's next.
In between all that, I got married again and divorced again. And that lasted just a couple of years. And then in 2009, I had something wonderful happen to me. I married my third wife, Renee. Renee, let everybody see who you are. Stand up. And then, I can tell you, I wasn't a walk in the park. I was kind of afraid I was going to get my walking papers again. And I read this book called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. And Michael Pollan wrote this book. It was a treatise on psychedelics and what they've been used for over the ages, to cure all sorts of things. And so I read that book like it was a novel. I took it to Renee and I showed it to Renee and I said, I'd like to try this. Because I couldn't watch a fireworks display. Didn't want to be around people and that sort of thing. I said, maybe this will help. And Renee had me fixed up with a couple of guides a couple of weeks later. And I met with them in Hawaii. And they treated me over 4 days with a couple of different psychedelics, ayahuasca, magic mushrooms, and psychedelic LSD. And at the end of that, I was a different guy. I was, I'm always going to have PTSD. I still do, but not like I did initially. And I brought a couple of my buddies that I was with in Vietnam. I brought them here. They went through the treatment, and and I had one of them say, both their wives said, "Thanks for finding my husband for me," and on, and Renee's the first to notice that I was completely different. And then the people that I noticed that I worked with, they said, I found out how different I was. And the way I like to look at it is, for me, when that happened, it had been 48 years since the war. I finally came home.
Amazing story. And you can find that in this. Like I said, we're giving everybody copies. Thank you to Bob. Thank you to Amanda and your amazing staff. And our bank wanted to make sure you knew all the stories here because they really touch your life, no matter what you're involved in. There's so many things to learn, or the things that he inspires in you to go out and learn about. Pretty amazing. I've got to watch your time, so I'm trying to be respectful of that. Is there anything else you'd like to add or anything you'd like to impart?
Well,
on-
you know, I'll point out that Donald Trump, think what you will of the guy. Me, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent, because Democrats and Republicans both buy golf clubs, right? He signed an executive order instructed the FDA to fast track psychedelic treatment.
Just 3 days ago.
Yeah, 3 days ago. And where it's going from there, I don't know. I hope it does get fast tracked. If nothing else, there's a drug called ibogaine that is the only thing that will cure in one day opioid addiction. Yeah, now it doesn't always do that, but over 40% it does, and then the rest of the part it makes significant differences. A lot of the Navy SEALs and Army Green Berets, they all get treated with that now. They go to Jamaica and places like that to get treated with that and come back, or come home.
That's an amazing thing. I saw where you have $50 million was just given by the state of Texas for that research. The governor here gave $5 million to do that research as well, the state of Arizona. So hopefully we'll go forth and more people will be able to come home.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's not just that. I mean, it is people that have been victims of trauma in one way or the other. You know, I mean, there's all sorts of things. I mean, the psychologists that legally can treat somebody with ketamine. That works. I mean, to a certain degree, it doesn't work. You know, they all work differently, but they all work. And you know, maybe we're on the edge of a renaissance. I've been trying to get that done since 2017. We donate a fistful of cash to organizations that were working to do trials for the FDA and that sort of thing. And well, that's what we're doing. And it's going to be a renaissance, people. It's going to be a renaissance. God, you know.
It's really a privilege for me to be even sitting here with you and to hear your story and to know what's behind those is pretty amazing. And so we appreciate that, and we just want to thank you for giving your time.
Well, George, I'm going to tell you something. You know, sitting here with me is not all it's cracked up to be.
I think it's pretty good. It's very entertaining at the very least. No, it really is. And so please join me in thanking Bob for